Mexico, which oftentimes shows up and there's incredible drama, going on either behind the scenes or in front of us. And yet right now we're talking about Mexico without any of that.
Goal, Mexico, they do break through. Montez has done it again.
Canada, as I've said before, oftentimes an afterthought, kind of boring, and now they're interesting and we're paying attention to them.
Play it in his promise, David. It's great control. It's in off the post. It's 5 for Canada.
And then obviously the U.S., that's where all the drama and the craziness is going on. I don't know if I can deal with a Mexico that is calm, cool, and collected. So something has got to happen for Mexico to be Mexico. Hello, Sunshine. I'm Alexi Lalas, and welcome to the State of the Union, presented by Yerba Madre, the boost you need when you want to win. Drink Yerba Madre, come to life. I am Alexi Lalas, and this is where we look at the beautiful game on and off the field through the lens of red, white, and blue color glasses. This show is live, as it will be throughout the Gold Cup, following each day of action. This show, we review day 4, and we take a second look at where we got our second look of Mexico, and we preview day 5, I think it is. Could have lost track, as the U.S. returns to action. But first, joining me, as always, my friend, my colleague, my guiding light, David Mosse, a soccer savant and a Fox Soccer researcher and writer extraordinaire, and special guest, our Fox Soccer colleague. You know him from the studio and the booth, the great Mauricio Edu. How are you, Mo?
Mauricio, wow. I've heard that name before. And are you trying to pawn me off to jump into the coaching realm as well, or what's going on?
I have Mauricio on the mind right now, okay. So anytime I hear it. We got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. I've had a wonderful time so far working with you, Mo, and we had talked about you coming on the pod earlier, and then when you finally agreed, and we went through all the negotiation and the back and forth, and he finally—
Is that what it was?
What, his agents, and we had to get all sorts of people involved, but we finally got it done, and I like to think that you're excited. You have been on the pod before, but welcome back, my friend. It's great to see you, and we look forward to talking to you about all the things that are going on and off the field with this Gold Cup, and in your life for that matter. What's your name again? Mosse? How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. For the record, today was day 5. Tomorrow is day 6.
Today's day 5 of day 6.
Starting to blend, right?
It's a marathon, so I'm just like in the 3rd or 4th mile right now.
I am very excited about our guest. Mo has not been on the State of the Union podcast in ages, but he is very popular among the digital crew. His appearances on the Now Show last summer are legendary.
Really? He made his mark.
This is the plug that I need right here. You got to travel with me more, Mosse.
Mo, you live in Las Vegas,
yes,
right? So you commute back and forth here. How long are you staying here? You get any days off? What's happening here? What's your schedule here? Give the people a little peek behind the curtain.
That's a good question. Well, I'm here through the entirety of the tournament, through the Gold Cup. But after the group stage, I think there's like a couple days off. So I'll go home. I'll go home. Yeah, I'll go home. Got to check in, see the fam, make sure the kids are surviving and thriving, as I'm sure they are. The mom is great. Mom, she's better than I am at parenting. So, but yeah, check in, make sure to spend some time with the fam, and then come back here and saddle up for knockout rounds.
When you were growing up, or even when you were playing and everything, did you ever think you'd be living in Las Vegas?
No, not a chance in hell. I didn't. But you know what? In saying that, I actually love it.
Yeah,
I don't miss Cali, which might sound crazy.
Everybody that goes there says they love it. Obviously, it's much more than the stereotype of the Strip and all that kind of stuff. We understand that.
Very much so. And specifically for like my scenario, that's where my missus is from. All her family's there, so it's like it's the perfect scenario. And Cali is what? It's a 35-minute flight away if I need to be back here, so it's
exactly.
Perfect.
But you are a busy man, my friend. You are on the road constantly. Every time I see you, you're someplace else, but we're glad you're here for an extended period. We're going to have a good time as we continue on through the Gold Cup. Mosse, anything to tell the folks out there?
For me, Vegas is just a strip, and that's fine with me.
That's what it should be for you.
What's your game? What's your game, Mosse, when you go to Vegas?
I'm actually not a big gambler.
Okay, but if you had to.
I play blackjack.
What about the sports book? Anything?
I don't do much of that either. And when I go to Vegas, it's usually for a sporting event or a concert.
You're one of those. Okay, got it.
What about you? You gamble?
I have been known to gamble. It's not problematic or anything like that. But when I'm there, and then like you said, I think it's mostly blackjack and that kind of stuff. I don't quite understand all the other games.
I got to get you guys into roulette.
Really?
Yeah,
You're a roulette guy?
I used to be blackjack, but I'm a roulette guy now.
Now, Lex, the last time we went this long in an opening segment, half of it got edited out. So
this is live, so they can't do anything about this. It's live. So if you are listening to it now and it's not live, there's a possibility this went even longer, okay? But if you're listening live, you're getting the full thing. All right, should we light this candle, my friend?
Let's do it.
Where should we start?
We had a Group A doubleheader today in Arlington, Texas. First up, Costa Rica claimed a 2-1 win over the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic scored first. Urbaez putting in a rebound spilled by Keylor Navas, which Landon Donovan reveled in because he's still salty over you calling Navas the greatest CONCACAF player of all time. But then Ugalde equalized from the penalty spot, his third of the tournament. All of them have been penalties. And then Alcocer late with the winner. The Ticos take it 2-1.
A couple of things. If you're watching along, you'll see the spillage there from Navas. It actually had a lot of the hallmarks of the Landon Donovan goal coming
Algeria,
late. Exactly, coming late. Speaking of Landon Donovan, yeah, he was all bent out of shape when I had the audacity to suggest that Navas was the greatest CONCACAF player ever. Although when you go read Keylor Navas's bio and CV and the amount of stuff that he actually won,
you say a lot of crazy things. That was not one of them.
Right, exactly.
It's a totally reasonable take.
That's true. Ultimately, a win from Costa Rica. I did not think it was a comprehensive win by any stretch of the imagination. But here's a situation where 2 games from Costa Rica, I didn't think in either game they played particularly well. And yes, they left it late. But they got 6 points, and they're going through. And everything seems to be fine, but this is not a great Costa Rica team. I didn't think if you were from the outside, another team watching this, like a U.S. or a Canada, and watching this Costa Rica team after these 2 games, I don't think that you would look at them and that they would scare you.
Not that you're scared, but you still have to respect them because
no, I don't. I don't have to.
You got to respect them because they're into the next round.
So,
and this kind of tied into your ridiculous top 5 teams or whatever. Because how they're one of the 2 teams that have actually qualified for the knockout rounds. Mm-hmm. They're not in your top 5. Are you crazy?
Yeah, they're not.
But the thing I'll say about their results, Mosse, is that they got the job done. Right? Was it impressive fashion? No, but you shouldn't peak on day 1. You shouldn't even peak on day 2 in a tournament setting. As long as you're making sure that you're qualifying for the next game, you're giving yourself a chance. I'm okay with it. They're getting the job done. They're on to the knockout rounds. They can still win their group. They play Mexico in the 3rd game in Vegas. The ridiculousness of your top 5.
For those of you watching, what Mo is alluding to is today on television, you unveiled your first power rankings for this Gold Cup. You had Canada 1, Mexico 2, Panama 3, USA 4, and Guatemala 5 on the strength of their impressive win over Jamaica. Now, to be fair, this was before the 2 games today. Did you see enough from Costa Rica to potentially slide them into that top 5?
No. As a matter of fact, As a matter of fact, they confirmed what I believed, and I think what was proven out after the first game. They only confirmed it in the second game, in that they are an average team, but they got 2 wins. I'm not saying that winning isn't better than losing or tying, in my expert opinion, but I was much more impressed. And again, as a reminder, and I did this on air, so I'm going to repeat it here because I think it bears repeating. When it comes to power rankings, these are my power rankings. They're not your power rankings. Go ahead and get your own power rankings. They are subject to change. There is no definitive type of algorithm or anything out there. It is what moves me. And like I said, I could get up tomorrow and have a completely different top 5 and power rankings here. But Costa Rica, and maybe I'm not being fair to Costa Rica, but they have yet to move me.
You do realize that Guatemala, there's still a chance that they don't qualify for the knockout round. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you're okay with that?
100%. I'm a romantic.
Okay.
I am romantically involved in the soccer sense with Guatemala right now for a number of different reasons.
For a 1-0 win over a poor Jamaican side.
Yeah, I like their uniforms too.
Okay.
So
now you're starting to peel back the layers of this onion. Okay, I get it now.
By the way, I've heard rumors of a jersey power rankings that you're going to put
together.
Yeah,
we do these power rankings, and I love to do them, and as you know, Mosse, they stir up controversy, they stir up debate, and that's part of why we do them. But there's only so many that we can do, so we were thinking a little outside the box here. And I am not what do they call the people that like jerseys? Whatever, a kit fanatic or whatever those. I just call them the jerseys. And then, so when they actually started to move me, and I said, yeah, that looks pretty cool. we got the idea that maybe we're going to rank those too. So we might have some power rankings when it comes to purely aesthetic. So you could have lost every single game, but if you look good doing it, bam, you could be right at the top of the list.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, you are.
Intrigued now.
All right, listen.
So Costa Rica, Dominican Republic was our first game. The second match,
but don't
Mexico,
bore us. Get to the chorus.
Suriname, and that provided us with our boost of the game today.
Exactly, our boost of the game. Time now for the boost of the game presented by Yerba Madre. Yerba Madre, the boost you need when you want to win. Drink Yerba Madre and come to life. All right. Set pieces, set pieces, set pieces. I don't know how you say set pieces in Spanish. I probably should have figured that out before I came on air. But it is an international language, especially when it goes well. And for this particular L3 team, they know what they're doing when it comes to set pieces. Now they've scored 5 goals, and 4 of the 5 goals have come off of set pieces. We have a longer discussion when it comes to set pieces. But, Mo, initial thoughts after yet another win from Mexico. Not an easy win, but ultimately another win.
Look, I'm not a Mexican fan, right? So my expectations and my reaction to their results is very different than if you were to talk to fans who were passionately involved in Mexico, because Mexican fans they treat this team with they view them through a different lens. They want them to win, and they also want them to be aesthetically pleasing. For me, I'm okay with them scoring goals off of set pieces. If it's not working in the run of play, if things aren't clicking, you're not as sharp as you need to be, and you can default to scoring goals off of set pieces to advance, then I'm all for it, because you give yourself a chance for things to start to work out and click in the final third as the tournament progresses. So, listen, the other part is Suriname's defending on these set pieces today were criminal. Absolutely criminal. And it hurt me to see that, because they did themselves an injustice based on how they played the rest of that game. So anyway, Mexico got the job done. Kudos to them. They're on to the next round. Can't be mad at that.
I mentioned that Ugalde has 3 goals, all from the penalty spot. He is the joint top scorer in this tournament with Cesar Montes, Mexico defender. He didn't know much about the one against the Dominican Republic, but today he got a couple of nice ones off set pieces.
You're okay with it?
The disrespect, you don't even know that you're disrespect. The way that you giggled when you said that, I think it's disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful to center backs. It's disrespectful to Cesar Montes, and it's disrespectful to set pieces. Speaking of Landon Donovan again, we had a little friendly argument on set today about set pieces, because and he's not the only one, I think, that kind of believes this. Views set pieces as something that can be overcome by the opposition, especially as you get further and further in a tournament, especially as you come up against better and better competition. I will acknowledge that. But in doing so, he seems to have devalued set piece goals. To your point, Mo, sometimes it's just not happening. And I will remind you that the only way you get set pieces is actually in the run of play doing something positive and causing in the moment either a foul or the ball to be kicked, out for those corners that you then maximize. So I will not abide by this disrespect when it comes to set pieces and this insinuation that they are worth anything less than a goal from the run of play.
Landon, very argumentative this summer. I think I agree with Pulisic's father about Landon. but let me just say on Mexico, there has not been a single match since they hired Javier Aguirre in which I've been overly impressed with their performance. But I keep saying this, he's reinstalled in them a knack for getting results. They have a strong spine with Raul Jimenez up top, Santi Jimenez as well, Edson Alvarez in the midfield, and then good center back play with Cesar Montes, Vasquez. And they just know how to grind out results, in part because they're so good on set pieces. And I think that could actually make them a sneaky, dangerous team next summer at the World Cup.
Well, this also goes to show that if you want something done and you want something done right, you get a center back to do it. So congratulations to Cesar Montes. They probably could have scored a couple. You had something else?
Important point here. Yep. Both Mexico and Costa Rica advance. Right now, it's Mexico first in the group, Costa Rica second. On Sunday, they will meet in Vegas. Miguel Herrera facing his native country, and that's important because the Group A is crisscrossed with the U.S. group. So if the U.S. wins Group D, they would face the second-place team in Group A. So that's very important because I think you would agree the U.S. does not want to face Mexico in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I don't think the tournament wants the U.S. to play Mexico in the quarterfinals. Mo, do you buy this? Well, when it comes to Mexico, we were talking about, and you heard it at the top of the show, the almost evergreen controversy and drama and dysfunction that for many years has surrounded Mexico, and that not only do we associate them with it, but I think they just kind of accept it. And now we find ourselves in this strange situation where the three big dogs in CONCACAF have kind of all switched roles, in that you have the United States, which is in a moment now of kind of crisis and all the controversy with Christian and all that kind of stuff. Then you have Mexico, who I said that is kind of known for that, now becoming kind of like this smooth sailing ship, not a whole lot going on, calm, cool, collected. And then you got Canada, for a long time was just kind of Canada, whatever, Canada, nice, and stuff. And now with Jesse Marsch and everything, they're actually interesting, and they're actually doing stuff that's provocative. So it's a wacky world in which we live in right now. Are you worried that Mexico is going to revert to form, and that there is a fall coming, and they are going to go to the well one more time, either in this third game or in the games coming up, which will be even worse for them, and find that it is empty?
I'm actually enjoying this reality show right now because it's like it's keeping me tuned in. I don't know what's to come, right? And I'm just waiting for there to be a direct correlation to results. As of right now, it's like we're anticipating, we're just sitting on the edge of our seats waiting for that drama to unfold itself in some way, shape, or form, and for it to impact results. But as of now, I'm kind of like, you know what? Maybe this zen feeling around Mexico is a good thing. Like, I know you were saying that we're so used to it, we've become accustomed to Mexico having drama, and us labeling it a telenovela, and for whatever reason, that's not the reality. And as I said before on air earlier today, we're still early on in the tournament.
Sure,
there's
sure.
still
it's
plenty
never
of
far,
time.
around the corner. So it's still
There's still
Mexico.
plenty of time, but there seems to be, this different feeling. You mentioned Aguirre instilling a different kind of feeling to their team, and Rafa Marquez is part of the group. We were talking about what actually Memo Ochoa's role is with this team right now, because he's not the starting goalkeeper. Is he there to help kind of keep that zen feeling going? I actually don't know what to expect from them off the pitch, but if they can keep getting results and find their way into another final, then maybe this is the way forward for Mexican football in a scary way.
If you're wondering why Aguirre is so relaxed, remember, he came from Mallorca that had Stu Holden as an
Once
owner.
you-
So the Mexican Federation's a picnic compared to what he dealt
Once
with
you've
in his
worked
last
under,
job.
the Stu Holden regime, then once you're out of there,
Regime.
it's like a whole breath
Yes.
of fresh air. And
Now, speaking of Canada and Jesse Marsch, boy, the fun just follows this guy around because last night, as we know, they hammered Honduras 6-0. Jesse watched the game from the box because he's serving this 2-game suspension because of the red card he picked up at the game we were at SoFi, third-place match in the Nations League against the United States. For a play, by the way, which wasn't a penalty. It was Jonathan David went down in the box for an Arfston challenge, and Jesse started running on the field like crazy. And then you see the replay, and it wasn't a penalty. But anyway, you got a 2-game suspension there. You watched the game from the box last night. I don't know what could have happened in last night's game to get him riled up, but nevertheless, apparently he did something because he is now under investigation by CONCACAF for disregarding regulations applicable to suspended match officials and using offensive language towards CONCACAF match officials.
I mean, look, this man right here, Jesse Marsch, I love Jesse Marsch because he is the gift that keeps on giving. He is a human content creator, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time. And I'm here for it. So bring it on. To your point, it's a little strange in a game that you won 6-0 that, what sounds like is happening when you read some of this is that the communications, which is probably not allowed, was happening between up in the stands and down. I mean, and again, I don't know, but this is kind of what it sounds like is happening. And if that's the case, it's not allowed, and Jesse and whoever else is involved, if they prove this true, would get dinged. But what information are you imparting down there in a game where they dominated from the opening whistle? It was never in doubt. And then what's getting you so riled up that you have to scream and yell and swear at anybody during that game because of what's going on the field? It was with a smoke and a coffee, like I said, from the moment the whistle blew, and it was never, ever in doubt. So it's just a little strange that if he ultimately gets punished for this, I mean, have it be a game where it actually mattered.
But don't you feel like it's appropriate, right? When you just talk about the whole CONCACAF ecosystem, and you were labeling, you were associating different things with every country, right? And Mexico was known for the drama. Well, if Mexico's being passive and they're in their Zen phase, well, we need drama from somewhere. And if Jesse says, you know what, let me wear this villain hat, let me just constantly be at the forefront of whatever it is, whether it's disastrous maneuvers that he's making, and maybe this is a distraction from I'm not sure what, but I do want the details. I need to know exactly what the hell happened. I need to know exactly why, and then I want to hear Jesse's statement. I want to hear his statement after the fact.
That's going to be the best.
I want to hear his statement.
The defiance, regardless of if it happened or not, is going to be beautiful.
Now, Landon proclaimed Canada the best team in CONCACAF, and Alexi has them number 1 in his power rankings. Are you buying all that?
I don't know how you can be number 1 if you haven't won anything yet, and I'll stand on that. Like, I appreciate the direction Canada's gone. I love what Jesse's brought to this team because there's almost like an arrogance now attached to this team. They have a really good player pool, and they have a manager that seems to find a way to instill belief in them, right? And he's rallied the country. He's got everyone on board with the direction Canada football is going, but you haven't won anything. You won qualifying to go into the 2022 World Cup. You don't get a trophy for that. Nations League, you came up short. Gold Cup last time around came up short to the U.S., so if they go on and they have success in this competition, yeah, you can be labeled. You can even then. I'm not sure if you're number 1 because Mexico has won Nations League and they won the last Gold Cup. But you can start putting your name in that category. But until you have some trophies to show for it, I'm not hearing that right now.
But you know, like you can like Jesse or not like Jesse as an actual coach. You know, the personal part for those that have met him and know him, you know, he's a great guy. He's also incredibly intelligent, and that's where I get to this where. There is a method to whatever madness is happening right now. And whether it's taking pressure off of others and putting it on himself, whether it is kind of establishing a, you know, even when everybody's talking about how good you are, kind of putting and creating a situation where you are put in a corner, almost us against the world and underdog type of thing, and everybody's coming for us. And don't think for a second that this latest thing with CONCACAF, he's not going to find a way to use it to his advantage. But that's what good coaches do. They recognize a situation, they can spin things around, they can take pressure off of the team. And like I said, Jesse is a smart guy. And then from a pure entertainment perspective, like I said, this provides us wonderful amounts of content to talk about.
But the only thing that I would say to contest that is you got to choose one side because you can't be an underdog and also proclaim yourself the best in the region, right? Like, so
he's playing both sides.
If you're wearing that tag of it's us against the world where nobody likes us, where
it's also the shower shoes, right? It's the thing where it's all fine and well, but you got to back it up on the field. So far, so good.
Yeah.
And so you know this whole thing that's going on right now. But if they go out there and they get their ass kicked, then it becomes a problem.
Now, the U.S. was number 4 in your power rankings, despite that 5-0 win over Trinidad and Tobago. The U.S. back at it tomorrow night. They face Saudi Arabia in Austin, live on FS1. I know you guys have been having this debate on television. We've been having it on the pod. Is it about getting a look at as many players as possible? Should Pochettino rotate? Or after winning 5-0, should he run out the same lineup again?
You want me to go first?
Yeah,
I'm saying
I want
run
you
it
to
back.
go first.
Run it back, man. Run it back. Because, and Mosse, to your question, why can't you do both? Why can't Pochettino get a look at his player pool, get familiar with some guys that he hasn't seen in depth, and still make a run at this tournament, right? I don't think Saudi Arabia or world beaters. Do I think they're a step up from Trinidad? For sure. For sure. That's not hard. I think we could make a team within here that'd be a step up from Trinidad, respectfully. But for me, I run it back because I want to get a better look at this group of players. The chemistry that we saw amongst the front four, I enjoyed that. The industrious movements and ground that was covered between De La Torre and Berhalter, I want to see more of that. You know, whether Tyler comes in or Johnny Cardo, I know what I'm going to get from Tyler. And when I'm in a fight, when I'm in a must-win game, I know I can trust Tyler. I want to see what I can get out of what I can see from De La Torre and Sebastian Berhalter and some of these other guys that we haven't seen feature a ton. And so my answer to your question, Mosse, is run it back because I want to see this group perform in the same way they did in the last match against better competition.
Yeah, if this tournament, the Gold Cup, was purely going to be a depth creation mechanism, that's fine. But then beforehand, it should have been managed a whole lot differently in terms of the players that weren't called in, the players that were called in, all of the stuff that we've gone over. The problem is that because it was mismanaged, it created more angst and more criticism and created a situation where now Pochettino and this team kind of have to produce. And when you have to produce, then you are going to do things different than when you're purely throwing people into the fire and seeing how they react. So there's a part of me that says, you got to throw that first game out, because what did you really learn about the players? It was a feel-good moment, and there's value to that, but what did we really learn about? Matt Freese touched the ball once, right? I mean, Chris Richards was really put under no pressure throughout the game. So this game, which is going to be a step up against Saudi Arabia, yeah, maybe you run it back, because now you actually do want to see these players be put under duress and therefore have a better assessment of where they are, as opposed to a warped one after that first game. The problem is if you do that and then you lose, and they could lose to Saudi Arabia, because this is a step up. Saudi Arabia is going to give them a game, and then you lose, then obviously we take a step back. But all of that criticism and all of that angst and all of those problems are now magnified again. So I don't know. You want to do both, but I don't see how you can possibly do both. If you don't change anything and you roll them back out again, it's a risk. I hope they live up to it. And I hope at the end of the day, Mauricio Pochettino can sit back and say, I got a much better assessment of who they are. They all stepped up against better competition, and now I can make a better decision come next summer when I'm trying to figure out who the 26 players are.
The Tyler Adams dynamic is somewhat odd to me. I don't know if you remember, but after he came on in that second half against Turkey, I said that it looked like a pickup game where they brought in one professional as a ringer, because he was so much better than everybody else in the field. And having him on this team with what is otherwise a B squad, it now creates this question of, is there a point of playing him? Because if this tournament has become all about learning new things about different players, and we know what Tyler Adams is, I almost think stick with guys like Berhalter and Della Torre in the midfield. I don't know, does Tyler Adams need to... Now, maybe when you get to the later rounds and you face Mexico and Canada and the trophy's right there within your grasp, then you bring him back into the fold. But for a game like tomorrow, I would lean towards sticking with the Della Torre-Berhalter partnership.
And you think just roll it back?
I say run it back, and the other part too is I'm confident in that group. Again, if I feel like if they play, regardless of the competition, if they play in the same way that they played against Trinidad, right, where they're aggressive both in possession, out of possession, they're creating chances by winning the ball back, by doing the defensive work first and foremost. Then they're committed to getting into the box, to finishing off plays. You know, these little small details that sometimes get lost amongst the shuffle when you're playing against better competition, or you know, a game's not going your way, and so you stray away from what should be the norm, what should be consistent themes that you attach to your style of play. So I just feel like at this point in time, I get what you're saying, Lex, about how this tournament's objectives have shifted based on what's in front of us. But yeah, for this next game, run it back, man. Run it back. And you can always make subs. You can make subs. You can bring players on. We saw that in the first game. Players came off the bench, made an impact. Brendan Aronson gets a goal, Haji Wright. So there's different guys that we know that we've seen in this player pool that are on the bench that aren't playing as much. And so I'm okay with that at this point in time.
All right. Well, let's. Is there something you wanted to?
Well, no.
Get to?
Pochettino made a very interesting comment today.
Oh, okay.
He was asked
Let us have
if
it.
this team is now looking to get revenge on the doubters, and he answered in Spanish. So we will translate for anybody that needs it afterwards. But let's take a listen to what he said in response to that question.
Creo que estamos aquí para crear un grupo y un equipo que todavía no lo somos, encontrando las mejores piezas en las que,
we're finding the best
puedan
players,
rendir juntas de la mejor manera. No estamos aquí para, en caso de perder y ahora ganar, ser revanchista o tener algún sentimiento. Creo que lo normal en el fútbol, en el soccer, es cuando ganas está todo bien, y cuando pierdes es normal que haya críticas.
Criticism comes. So
That was
you get the gist of it.
that was Stephen Miller's nightmare, us playing a Spanish clip on the show.
Jeez. It's interesting. He doesn't say much in English and doesn't say much in Spanish, but I get what he's talking about. Here's my thing. If you are a player right now on the eve of your second game, I know they're probably all staying up and listening to this and watching this. So get to bed, boys, because you got a job to do tomorrow. I'd be licking my chops. You know, Landon, I think, talked today about players not letting others have an opportunity. I played my entire career in fear of losing my spot and not wanting to let anybody even have a bite, a possible chance of any playing time or attention. Now, it happens to all of us. Eventually, we lose it, but you want to hang on to it as much as possible. And you don't want to get complacent, because then you'll surely lose it, regardless of how good you are. But I hope that those guys are sitting back in their hotel right now and thinking about the opportunity that is being presented to them, whether they're starters or not. And you got to grab it with both hands, and you got to plant that seed. And you plant that seed in the head of Mauricio Pochettino, and you plant that seed in all of our heads, to be quite honest. And I know there can be recency bias, but sometimes that works towards you in your favor. And so if Mauricio Pochettino associates you with a time that was positive, with a time that he saw stuff that moved him, that's going to be good for you. But this is that moment. Because of the decisions, some unavoidable and some avoidable, because of the players that aren't here, that is an opportunity. And those players, whether it was by design or not, have given opportunity to others. And be careful, because somebody might come up and grab it out of your hands. And if and when that happens, you got no one to blame but yourself.
Lex, I'm glad you said that. I've sat in both of those seats, right? As it pertains to the national team, where I was starting, and then there were moments when I wasn't starting, and I was sitting there just having to be patient and wait and wait. And sometimes you're like, damn, at what point is this opportunity going to come? You know what I mean? And so when you do get that opportunity and you play well, in my mind, you should be rewarded. You should keep that shirt. And I feel like Pochettino has said as much. I can't verbatim give you what he said, but it was something to the tune of, like, guys are playing these games, and every game, basically, they're playing to earn an opportunity to play another game. And so that kind of ties back into why I feel like this group should stay. They didn't do anything wrong. They can't control who their opponent was. What they can control is how they went out there and performed.
You make a compelling argument, and my mind is starting to see the value of him. And in doing so, by the way, he's putting the trust in them and saying, you know what? I'm backing you. You might not have the experience. You might be young. There might be people saying, whether it's us here or anybody else, that you're not that good. But I like what I saw, and I'm going to bet on you. Mm-hmm. And we all know, when there is somebody that is your champion, when there's somebody that bets on you, when there's somebody that supports you, you go that extra mile. And whether it's Pochettino or anybody else, you want those type of players. And then when that reward pays off, you feel good, but it's ownership. Yeah. So we'll see if that ultimately happens. Mosse.
The other game tomorrow is TNT against Haiti in Houston. Lex, thoughts on that
one? We should do a separate pod all for that. Look, this is all going to be about the U.S. tomorrow, and obviously it's a big game and a step up against this Saudi Arabia team.
But it's relevant from a scenario standpoint. The U.S. clinches a quarterfinal berth tomorrow with a win and a Haiti draw or loss against TNT,
which is completely a possibility here. Mo, anything before we send you off to bed?
Let's see.
Should that goal against Slovenia have counted in 20?
Oh my God, bro! I can't believe you went there. By the way, the thing that irks me the most is that there's never been any real clarity on what the hell was called, right? Like, in the moment, there was nothing. In the subsequent days, nothing. Years later, nothing. It's like, where was VAR when you needed it? When we really needed it?
Oh, listen, you know we can all go back. Where was VAR then? We can all go back and have a million different moments in our career when VAR would have sent it this way or that way. But, we're a bunch of old people. You want to finish up with some Club World Cup, Mosse?
Yes, my nightly Club World Cup update. And today it involves Americans, because Juventus hammered Al Ain 5-0. Weston McKennie started and captained Juventus. Weah came on as a sub. Colomwani and Conceição each with 2. Yildiz got the other. An impressive start for Juventus. I would say the most impressive performance by a European side that faced an opponent with a pulse, because we know Bayern Munich beat Auckland City 10-0. Yeah. Auckland City are semi-professional. That game doesn't even count. For the most part, European clubs have struggled in this tournament so far. Now, no European club has lost to a non-European yet, but there have been some draws and games in which they got outplayed. Today, Real Madrid got all they could handle from Al Hilal. I know you were very impressed.
Yeah,
by
I was
Al
texting
Hilal.
you saying, hey, this Al Hilal team is really, really good. So some interesting action on the field. By the way, Weston, McKennie, and Tim Weah, for that matter, they had a hell of a day, by the way. They went to the White House. They were in the Oval Office with the president, with a bunch of Juventus folks and stuff like that. So the White House has constant soccer going on over there. And then they followed it up with a wonderful performance, a wonderful win there. So well done from Weston McKennie and Tim Weah and Juventus. What else?
Well, so every team has played once now at the Club World Cup. And I made the point the other night that it's dangerous to attach big significance to any individual game and treating any individual game like it's a referendum on this league versus that league, this region versus that region. You need a bigger sample size. But over the course of this tournament, we're getting enough games here. It is interesting that the European clubs are not dominating to the degree that some people expected. We'll see if that continues into subsequent match days and knockout rounds. But early on, at least, the other regions are showing out well.
And you've been hearing a lot of complaints, right? And to me, it's like, I get it. I hear some of these complaints about like, oh, the conditions, the weather, it's too hot. I couldn't, whatever the case may be. I don't know, man. I've enjoyed the games. What I will say is I've enjoyed the games. I've enjoyed the competitive nature of these games because I think coming into the tournament, similar to you, I didn't know what to expect,
Yep.
right? I knew it was going to be, there's a lot of money at stake, and so that's always going to incentivize anyone, right? Maybe coming into it, you thought, oh, I've had a long season. When you see that, what the prize is in front of you, and then once you're actually in the country of where you're going to be playing, it becomes more real, right?
Yep.
And as soon as you cross that line, you've been a competitor, you've been an athlete, there's everything else gets put aside. So I've enjoyed the games. The complaints have been they've fallen on deaf ears a little bit for me. And I'm intrigued to see how, obviously I have a close eye on the MLS teams because I want to see how they progress. LAFC, if they were playing their games at home, I would have given them a really big, they would have been my pick of the 3 MLS teams to advance. I think playing away from home for them is a little bit trickier, but that being said, they didn't look bad against Chelsea, right? I thought they held themselves well in that game. Inter Miami left a little bit to be desired because I thought that was going to be a game that they would win. Seattle, I didn't see them doing much in that group, and so scoring a goal was a positive, and they also competed in that game as well.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Club World Cup, and we're all watching it because we talk about soccer here, and whether we're televising it or not, it's happening. People kicking a ball in this capacity at this level in the United States, in my professional opinion, is a good thing, and we want to celebrate it. Those that are dissecting it and attributing things to it, I understand because we're a year out from the World Cup and people are worried or at the very least interested in how does this reflect on what's going to happen. I get playing that game, but this was always going to be a work in progress, and over years a work in progress as the FIFA Club World Cup, given this size. We've already seen, for example, disparity in the crowds. Okay, that was bound to happen going forward. I don't think that it has a negative effect on what's going to happen next summer. And I do think that there's an element of a dry run for a lot of the stuff that is going on here that is actually going to benefit the United States next summer in terms of hosting the World Cup. So just enjoy the games, enjoy the soccer. If you want to pick at it and find problems either on or off the field, there are plenty for you to do it, but it just seems like it's wasting time and energy that I just don't have the bandwidth for.
Honestly, I haven't found much that I haven't liked, to be honest with you, because there's if you've watched every game, and I'm not sure everyone has done that, but I've tried to watch as many games as possible. I've enjoyed the product on the field. I've enjoyed seeing in different markets the fans, right? Because it's, to your point, it's very similar to what we'll kind of experience next year in the World Cup, where you have fans from so many different countries and so many different cultures being able to really express themselves and show their pride, their passion, their cultural elements all around this game that we all fallen in love with. So I've appreciated it, man, and I'm looking forward to more of it.
My parents are in South Florida right now. They said it was a great atmosphere for the Real Madrid game today, and they are going to Fluminense's next game.
Oh, are they?
I'll get a report from my dad on the atmosphere at a Club World Cup match.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think we've hit on everything. Like we said, U.S. game day tomorrow, so we'll see how this group, whatever that group does look like, looks like against this Saudi Arabia team. It's going to be fun, and we'll be all over it tomorrow. Mo will be there. I'll be there. Mosse will be there. All the gang will be there. I hope you're there. We thank everybody for listening. We thank Yerba Madre for presenting the State of the Union. We will talk to you again tomorrow, like I said, after each and every day that happens here at the Gold Cup. Keep reviewing and downloading and subscribing and, pounding up and down, left and right when it comes to that button over there on the subscribe thing, and smash that button over there on the old YouTube thing, up and down, double fist and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. And until then, and as always, my friends, size the day.